Hey boys and girls, what's up? Mr. Allen here again today to talk about some clouds. I hope you guys got that stratus and that nimbostratus activity done, okay? Just a little bit of a backtrack. Let's talk about those real quick. The stratus and the nimbostratus, it should be somewhere around here. There's a nimbostratus, there's another nimbostratus. Notice the raggedy edges. Notice no sunshine at all through those clouds. There we have the nimbostratus again. Stratus cloud on the ground. This fog, obviously very thick fog. And here's a stratus cloud. Remember, no sunshine peeking through. So you can always guarantee, well, not necessarily guarantee, nothing's a guarantee, but they generally produce rain for 2 to 3 days. They're a very slow rainmaker. They just drizzle for like 2 or 3 days. Very depressing type weather if you don't like rain and clouds. Now the next one we're going to talk about is this guy, and obviously he's a lot different. These are called cirrus clouds, and these are in the upper part of the atmosphere. You remember that little word I told you to remember, cirra? Well, that's where cirrus cloud comes from, okay? Now, these are very, very different than the stratus and the nimbostratus, okay? Now, these are very thin, okay? They're thin clouds. They're so thin, in fact, and if you look close enough at some of these pictures, you can actually see blue sky from them. So a lot of people, you can tell by the way they're kind of shaped, and these are just a really odd shape. There's a lot of different odd shaped ones, such as these right here. You can see how they streak across the sky. They call these clouds wispy, okay? And they also have nicknamed them mare's tails, okay? And a mare's tail is obviously the tail of a horse. Okay, because a male horse is called a mare, I believe. No, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know much about horses except for they're big and they're fast. So these mare's tails, that's how they kind of got their nickname, is because they look very much like a horse tail, and they're really, really thin. They call them feathery. So thin, feathery is another good word. Just because you can just see through them. Now, unlike the stratus and the nimbostratus, these guys also have a weather prediction with them as well. If you see these in the sky on any various day, they're going to basically mean that it's going to be fair weather for a few days. Now, that's not always the case, but most of the time they do predict fair weather, and the reason they do is because these are a really high cloud. You know, we talked about the stratus and the nimbostratus are 6,000 feet and below, and these guys are 20,000 feet and above. So that's over 4 miles, roughly about 4 miles up in the air. 3.8 something probably, I don't know. But they're really high. So these are in the high cloud group. Okay? And the stratus, high cloud group, excuse me, goodness gracious. The stratus and the nimbostratus are in those low cloud groups, okay? Now, one other really cool thing about these, since these are so extremely high in the atmosphere, we talked about when you get way up in the atmosphere in our troposphere, okay? Remember, our troposphere only goes up so high. It gets extremely cold. So these clouds aren't liquid water necessarily. These are going to be ice crystals. They freeze up there and they stay up there. And the reason these are a predictor of fair weather is because the winds aren't blowing very high way up in the atmosphere, which usually brings in more weather, okay? So that's why they're a predictor of fair weather. And they're mainly composed of ice. If you ever see these before the sun goes down, try to stay outside and watch the sunset, because they have been known to produce the most beautiful sunsets because the sunlight gleams off of the ice and it sends off these really cool reflections. So if you do that, probably not today or tomorrow because it's supposed to rain. But when it gets clear and you see some cirrus clouds in the sky, which they are very, very, very prevalent, which means they're always around in the summer. Okay, so make sure you keep your eye out on those. And the next two clouds are my favorite clouds, and I'm going to teach you everything I can about them because they're awesome. They're the storm clouds. But here's some other cirrus clouds, okay? So you got the mare's tails. They look like horse tails. Then you got this guy right here. It looks like somebody got a paintbrush and just kind of went across the screen. Still see blue in between those little feathery strips. And this is the last one. So this one's kind of crazy looking. You still see blue sky between them. So they're not all necessarily looking the same, but they all have that same characteristic of you can see through them and still see blue sky. Very thin clouds. Okay. So look, have a good weekend, and I will talk to you on Monday.